I am an admissions counselor at Wake Forest. I'm also a recent graduate from Wake. I graduated in May with class of 2017. So I do have a pretty good perspective both as a student and through the admissions process as well. I'm going to try and give you an insight into the way that we are making our decision process and how we can best help students to make themselves stand out in the applicant pool as it comes in regards to AP classes or dual enrollment classes. The first thing that I will say, no one wants to be the contrarian in the room, but we are a little bit different, I've heard, in that our office does strongly prefer AP classes over dual enrollment classes in general. I'm not going to get into the decision there or the rationale for that, but in general, our office does want to see AP classes if they're available. I do stress that we look at every single high school individually. We're not comparing students to students from other high schools academically. But that being said, we do have, we keep track of the history of applicants from each school, which means that if I get to look at a high school and say, okay, so the last 5 years of students from that school, the ones that we are taking an average of so many AP classes, that gives us a benchmark to move forward. And that means that we are really strongly looking at the rigor of your academics. That is one of the big parts of our holistic application process. We do say the holistic application process is a big part of the Wake Forest experience. We do want to know that you are active in what you're doing. We want to know that you're passionate about something in your community. You have extracurriculars. You have all the things going on. And that's not to say that your academics aren't the most important thing. But all these things come together into a pretty important holistic decision. And so there are certain tracks that you can take to put you in the best foot to stand out amongst all the other students applying to Wake. And one of those things is we want to be sure that when we choose a student, their transcript is proving to us that they can handle the rigor of our classes. And the best indicator of that is AP classes in general. And so you should definitely dive in. If you feel like you can succeed in a number of AP classes, then we want you to be making that decision. I do want to stress that I would rather see a student take a certain number of AP classes and get A's in all of them and be succeeding across the board than see the student who took every AP class imaginable and got C's in most of them because they overextended themselves. Rigor is great to an extent, but success is the most important point. We want a combination of success and rigor, and every student is going to have a different balance there. That balance is going to take into account all the other things that you're doing. If you are, succeeding enormously in all of your AP classes, but we see that, you don't have any extracurricular activities, you can't really talk about anything that's happening outside of the classroom in your life, that's going to hurt your application in our eyes. However, if you're taking maybe 2 AP classes less than the person next to you, but you're student body president, you're on a sports team, in a band, or something like that, you want to find a balance in your life where you can be passionate about the things that you're doing and succeed in the classroom as well. And in AP classes, the decision to enroll in those classes will be a balance that's a little bit different for every student. We take that into account. So that's, I guess, the most important part. Another thing that's important to know, I know a lot of you are going to be interested in exactly how well these transfer for you. AP classes do transfer much better at Wake than dual enrollment classes in general. Our registrar doesn't make that decision. That's a departmental decision at Wake. So the department head each year chooses exactly what credits transfer over. So that is somewhat changing every year. But in general, dual enrollment classes are really, really strict. Probably fewer than 5% of dual enrollment classes in general transfer for credit at Wake. But AP classes, generally 4s and 5s are almost always going to translate to credit at Wake. And a lot of departments will take a 3 as well in most of those exams. So one thing that you have the option to do is if you are pretty interested in the dual enrollment track, if it's something that seems like a better fit for you, say you're taking a Calc 1 college class in a dual enrollment level, you can take the AP Calculus AP exam at the end of the semester, even having not taken the AP high school class. And if you get a 4 or something on the Calculus AP exam, that looks really good in our eyes, because that means that we know that you got the same quality, you can handle that rigor of education, and you got the experience of the college class in your dual enrollment class. So there is a lot of flexibility there as well. That's something that we like to recommend to students who are leaning towards a dual enrollment option. If there is an AP class that closely mirrors the course that you're taking, consider taking the AP exam as well at the end of the semester. One last thing that I'd like to highlight, this is a little bit of a step away from the theme for the evening, but Wake does have a scholarship fund that is only available for Davidson County students. So that's a nice thing to know. It is only available for you. If you don't get the students from Davidson County, then the money just sits there. So definitely be aware of the fact that When you apply to Wake, you're automatically considered for need-based and merit-based aid. We don't have scholarship applications. If you apply to Wake, you have already applied for scholarship. And as students from Davidson County, you are automatically considered for a scholarship that no one else gets consideration for, which is a nice thing. So that's about all that I have. The last thing that I would stress is that every person will have their own route to college. Be yourself. Our application is famous for being a little bit outside the box. Our application has a lot of supplement questions on the Common App. We usually ask like 8 or 9 extra questions compared to a lot of other schools. But that's because we want to know you. And if the rigor of AP classes is a part of who you are, then that's great. But the most important part of your application at Wake should be that we see the academic passion that you have for what you're doing. We want to know who you are and what you're doing and how that makes you different from someone else. We want you to be able to talk intelligently about the things you're learning in the classroom, but we also want to hear the things that you're passionate about, your extracurriculars. All those things come together into that holistic decision process that we do have. So I think that that's generally all I have for you. I'll pass it along now one more time.
All right, good evening.